The podcast you're about to listen to is from a book series on postqualitative, new materialist, and critical posthumanist research. You can find it on the following website, www.postqualitativeresearch.com.
Hi, my name is Soern, and I'm from the University of Agder in southern Norway. Welcome to this short podcast about Chapter 8 from a book called Navigating the Postqualitative, New Materialist, and Critical Posthumanist Terrain. And the chapter's headline is Reanimating Video and Sound in Research Practices. With me, I have the co-authors of the chapter, Jon and Karin. And first, I wondered if you could briefly introduce yourselves.
Thanks, Soern. Hi, I'm Karin Murris. I'm Professor of Early Childhood Education at the University of Oulu in northern Finland. I'm also Emerita Professor of Education at the University of Cape Town in South Africa.
Hi, my name is Jon Wargo. I am an assistant professor in the Teaching, Curriculum, and Society Department in the Lynch School of Education and Human Development at Boston College.
Thank you. We thought we'd start this session with giving a short introduction to the chapter. As I said before, the chapter is called Reanimating Video and Sound in Research Practices, and we examine the implications for conceptualizing, composing, and structuring a post-qualitative research project with video and sound. This is exemplified through a range of research practices that really embrace moving images and sounds. So the chapter offers a taste of what working differently with sound and visual technology may look like. What we do is to challenge the mainstream ideas about how video and research works, both philosophically, politically, and methodologically. In the chapter, we start with a short detour to explore the entanglements between art and science and look at some historical examples. These lead to how post-qualitative research can trouble the concept of representation in research. This is then followed by a series of investigations, and we argue how the inclusion of visual and sonic materials shift the role of the researcher. An important point is here that through troubling current notions of time and space and human exceptionalism, we rethink, as Lorimer puts it, what forms of intelligence, truth, and expertise count. We follow this argument by exploring how the use of video and sound challenges the ontologies of humanism with its power-producing binaries that include and exclude. And as the title suggests, we encourage reanimating video and sound in research practices. And this aims to include the so-called lesser human, for example, child, and the non-human, for example, cameras. This is done by troubling binaries such as nature culture, human, machine, adult, and child. In addition, the role of sound is given a special attention in the chapter as an example of readjusting what is valued and heard as crucial when one is realizing research data. So all in all, the chapters offers a taste of what post-qualitative research with sonic and visual technology could entail for a research project. And this brings me to the question how the ideas presented in the chapter could or may challenge or change your own research.
That's a good question, Soern. I suppose the way the chapter challenges and changes my own research is that I no longer believe that a video is like a window, I suppose, on the world. What I mean by that is that technology does not give access to an objective slice of reality that you can then examine, turn over again and again, etc. I just now understand this kind of returning to the data more as a doing, as always changing what and how I see each time I look at data, and then the role the technology plays in that is completely entangled with what is then produced. So this way of thinking about technology has been really important in a book I'm working on right now, actually, with a research team. It's on post-digital play and the post and post-digital gestures towards this giving up of the binary between the digital and the non-digital. And the digital and the non-digital are both part of the same world. The technology is not somehow outside of the world, peeking in, as it were, like in the case of video. Now, I suppose my relation to technology and video in particular changed a few years back already when I was working with another research team on data we had created with 3 different ways of recording one literacy lesson in a South African grade 2 classroom. And we'd hung a GoPro from the ceiling, and a professional cameraman had used a handheld camera, and I'd been filming with my iPad lying on the floor. I mean, these poor children, hey? I hadn't planned it that way. It was all very intuitive, but it worked out to be very productive in the end. And we wrote a book about it called Literacies, Literature and Learning. Now, I love that project, actually. It really helped us to, well, me to think differently, and all of us, I think, about who and what is included in research and the role video plays in that. And the post-human shift really helps in starting to pay more attention to the material and the non-human and what and who comes into focus, like in this particular case, the land, ancestors, and how matter can have agency too. But we don't realize that as we're so focused on following the child in research.
Jon, how would you say this changes research?
I think in collaborating and writing the chapter together, one of the presuppositions of doing sort of qualitative inquiry was to challenge sort of and disrupt ways in which we understand gaze or listening in research that uses sort of video and sonic technologies. And in particular, I think we wanted to highlight how in post-qualitative inquiry, the goal then is to sort of move beyond merely transferring understandings of voice and sort of oral-centric power, and to think about what new possibilities are opened up in understanding and examining what and whose knowledge counts. And by whose knowledge counts, I mean both the ways in which video and sonic technologies are used in the field during inquiry to render a reality that can later be dissected and analyzed, but also the ways in which, researchers may open into and cut with video to rethink reality. So what does montage and collage or cutting with, as J. Johnson Teal and Karen Woolwin describe, do to data? And what is that data then done differently through the process of diffraction?
Thank you too for allowing us getting a glimpse into how these ideas can come alive in your research. But I have another point I'd like to explore. In the book, all authors are especially engaged in how the post-qualitative approach might change the way we teach research methodology. Karin, I wonder, how do you teach, or how could one teach about the role of video in post-qualitative research?
Well, in my teacher education classes, I make the students aware of how video and sound can work in research and in teaching, actually, by selecting short video clips. And then I explore with them what role the technology works in how we co-create knowledge together. So, for example, in chapter 3 of the same book that we are talking about now, I explore a YouTube clip of 10-year-old Magaliso who challenges the South African Parliament. He asks why children don't have the vote. And by going back and back over the clip, we start to notice certain expressions and wonder about whether this is a clear case of what Miranda Fricker calls epistemic injustice. And the technology is part of the teaching in such cases as we stop and start and discuss and then keep returning. I don't teach a research method class at the moment, but I've also found the video articles we refer to in this chapter incredibly helpful with my students, as the clips are excellent provocations to use with students. And moreover, they're open access, which is very good too. So the video articles start with a short video clip, and then the article itself analyzes the clip. So although there's the examples in the special issue that we edit together and we refer to in this article, in this chapter, are mainly from early years education researchers, I've noticed that colleagues from other fields also find it very helpful.
And Jon, do you have some examples of this?
In my own teaching, I leverage and introduce students to post-qualitative inquiry in an assignment called the Sonic Field Report. So I teach an advanced qualitative research methods course at Boston College. And in the course, the first assignment is really sort of a survey and formative assessment of, do you know sort of the most sort of basic modes of generating data in the field from your qualitative design course. So students are asked to interview, record field notes and jottings, capture field recordings, as well as engage in participant observation. So taking all of this data and stuff, if you will, from the first assignment, I then ask students to sort of, through the process of transduction, create a 4 to 7 minute composition and soundscape that performs, describes, explores, or demonstrates a concept that can be related to the inquiry, but can also be related to their fieldwork. So many folks, for example, may highlight Foucauldian notions of power through sort of the amplification, volume, and timbre of of sound. So my goal sort of in creating this assignment is to forward sort of the vision of sound as a technology of creative and analytic mediation, right? I want them to sort of transduce the experience of the field and question how sound can be used to render this participation without observation. And of course, this is done with a lot of reading from sound studies and multimodal anthropologies, but one of the things that I hope to do is for students to then bring in this soundscape, and we engage in a process of deep listening. And we sort of highlight through sort of the aural and vibrational technologies and feelings and experiences of listening to sound, we sort of understand sort of what place or priority sound may have when considered otherwise.
John and Karin, thank you for sharing your thoughts with us. At the end of this podcast, we want to say that we hope with our thoughts and ideas and the examples and suggested activities, both in the book and here, we excite and inspire researchers to reanimate and reimagine research with the use of video and sound. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this podcast. If you would like to know more about this chapter, please visit the website www.postqualitativeresearch.com, and please stay tuned for future podcasts.